everybody? It's Devin Haney, and you're watching Jay Calderon Boxing Talk.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's Boxing Talk. The world is talking about the middleweight division. Right now, it is a loaded division right up there with the welterweights and the heavyweight division as well. But right now, Canelo Alvarez, the king of the division, is on high demand by every boxer that is out there. Currently, WBC middleweight champion, newly crowned champion, Jermall Charlo is looking for a fight opportunity against Canelo Alvarez, which the WBC has now deprived him of that right to face Canelo Alvarez because he was the mandatory. Now he is the full-fledged champion. They just handed him the title and gave Canelo Alvarez the franchise title, which is a bogus title, but it's an untouchable title where no one has to force a mandatory against Canelo Alvarez, and Alvarez is free to do whatever he wants. Politics of boxing is the worst right now in boxing, and it's something that it allows the cash cow like Canelo Alvarez to pick and choose and do however he wants with whoever he wants, and that's just the way it goes in boxing. We don't like it. We don't want to see this happen, but it is what it is. So right now, what is going on in the state of the middleweight division where Canelo Alvarez is in the driver's seat and he is forcing the direction of a lot of fighters in making fights that they need to be making in order to get the Canelo Alvarez fight. This is the sweepstakes right now for all these fighters that are in the middleweight division. Triple G is calling out Canelo Alvarez. Demetrius, Andrade, who just fought this past weekend and put on a fantastic performance against Polish middleweight contender Sulecki in a dominant unanimous decision where he dropped Sulecki and he looked actually better than what Daniel Jacobs did against Sulecki. So Demetrius Andrade, like everyone else after his fight, he is calling out Canelo Alvarez. He is demanding this fight. He wants this fight. He is the WBO middleweight champion, and this is a fight that should be happening next. But it's one that Canelo Alvarez is in no rush to make. It's not because he is scared of all these fighters. It's because he's willing to stir the pot so that these fighters could fight each other, because no one else is calling out one another. You got three main guys in this division, Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, and Triple G, that are all calling out the same guy. They want the money fight. They want the biggest fight possible against the star of boxing, which is Canelo Alvarez. But none of these guys are calling each other out. I believe that a fight between Triple G and Demetrius Andrade should definitely happen. It's one that the Zone should be pushing for to happen next, because this is the fight that we want to see. But Triple G is not looking in the direction of Demetrius Andrade. So what is the next best fight out there for Demetrius Andrade or even Jermall Charlo? I believe that those two should fight each other. They're both world champions right now. They both have a history of drama and beef with each other in the past when Demetrius Andrade was fighting in the junior middleweight division, and both Charlo brothers were in the same weight classes and both of them were champions. These guys never got to fight each other. Now this is an opportunity to revisit that beef and see these guys fight each other. Why not have these guys face one another to unify the titles and to also continue their path to try to get somebody like Triple G or even Canelo Alvarez in the ring with them? Canelo is calling out a light heavyweight. He's willing to move up 2 weight classes to face Sergey Kovalev, 2-time light heavyweight champion of the world. This is a matchup where it's a risk. You know, he's going up against a bigger fighter who has hard-hitting punching power, decent boxing skills, a solid jab, and it's a threat. But we all know that Sergey Kovalev is weak to the body. Andre Ward proved it twice in both of their fights that this man cannot take a body punch. And Canelo Alvarez has the best weapon against Sergey Kovalev, which is the body work that he puts in. He's a great body puncher. So it's a fight that could be possibly won by Canelo Alvarez. He has boxing skills. He has the quicker hands. But it's also a risky, dangerous fight. But that fight is not going to happen. Why is it not going to happen? Because Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions have given an offer to Sergey Kovalev's team, which is not even in the same ballpark as Daniel Jacobs got for his fight with Canelo Alvarez. It's much lower. And they're going to need a significant amount of money so that Kovalev is happy with his payday, that his promoter, main event, Kathy Duva, is also satisfied, and Bob Arum, who is the co-promoter and the one that is making decisions right now because they have him on ESPN showcasing his talent, they're going to have to be satisfied as well with the amount of money that they're going to be making. Plus, there's also the situation of paying sidestep money to Anthony Yarde, the #1 contender and mandatory for Sergey Kovalev's WBO title, and of course his promoter, which is Frank Warren. These guys are going to have to get a substantial amount of money just to step aside so they could allow Sergey Kovalev to fight Canelo Alvarez over in the zone. So there's a lot of money that's going to have to be put on that table for that fight to happen, and it's just not going to happen. I still say that the best option for Canelo Alvarez is to move up to 168 pounds to face somebody like Callum Smith. It's a good fight. It's a solid fight, and I believe it's a fight that it should happen and most likely will happen. But we've been hearing several different rumors that Canelo Alvarez has suffered an injury and that he's not going to be fighting in September. We also hear the rumors of Triple G looking to take that date in September to face somebody like Jaime Munguia, who fights at 154 pounds and is the WBO junior middleweight champion that will have to move up to middleweight. But now there is a new story surfacing that Golden Boy Promotions has offered Jaime Munguia, one of their own fighters, to face Canelo Alvarez on Mexican Independence Day in Las Vegas. That just changed the whole landscape, and this is what we call a block by the Canelo Alvarez team against Triple G, because Triple G now doesn't have that option on the table. Of course, Jaime Munguia and his team are going to look over the offer, and they're going to see that it's a much bigger payday and much bigger stature to fight somebody like Canelo Alvarez on Mexican Independence Day than to fight somebody like Triple G. So right there, where does that leave Gennadiy Golovkin? Who can he fight other than Demetrius, Andrade, or perhaps Jermall Charlo? But the fact that Jermall Charlo is still on PBC fighting guys like Brandon Adams, who's also from the junior middleweight division of 154 pounds and had to move up to face him at the middleweight limit. And this guy couldn't even knock him out or drop him through 12 rounds, and he dominated the fight. But, you know, he still has to have a significant fight. And is he going to stay on PBC and continue to fight the guys that Al Heyman puts in front of him for the amount of money that Al Heyman is paying him very nicely, very handsomely, I'm sure, but it's not the significant fights that we want to see Jermall Charlo in. So he has to look at the guys over at the zone. That means he has to come over to the zone to have the fights with Demetrius Andrade, which I believe is a great unification fight between the WBO and the WBC champion. Why are these guys not calling each other out? You know, Demetrius Andrade is a great opportunity to lead to bigger and better fights, especially the Triple G fight, which he has been calling for quite some time. Either one of these guys, Charlo or Boo Boo, could definitely get an opportunity against Triple G if they face one another and unify the titles and put themselves in a position to get somebody like Triple G who's looking for an opponent, because he cannot continue to face guys like Steve Rose. He has to face name opponents that the zone is going to be willing to approve because they're paying him a lot of money. And right now, Canelo Alvarez is trying to force Triple G to face one of these other names so that they can gain more interest in a fight down the road. And this is something that Canelo Alvarez, like I said, he's stirring the pot. He's in the driver's seat to pick and choose who he wants to fight. A lot of fans are not happy with this situation. They're calling it a duck. They're saying that he's scared. But this man is not scared if you want to move up 2 weight classes to face a big, hard-hitting puncher that's twice your size. You know, it's just ridiculous that they're saying that. They just don't understand and want to hear the business side of boxing, the politics of boxing, which basically ruins, you know, great fights. Because we all want to see Canelo Alvarez face Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo, and also the Triple G third fight. You know, so for us to say that we, the boxing fans or the media, does not want to see these fights happen is nonsense. You know, it's just people favor certain fighters and they want to pick their sides. We want to see the best fight the best right now. And of course, Canelo Alvarez is going to do everything possible with his team to avoid these fighters in order to narrow down who he's going to fight, to make the division a lot more spicier. Because if you have Triple G fighting Charlo, that's a great fight. If you have him fighting Demetrius Andrade, that's a great fight. Or if you have Demetrius Andrade fighting Jermall Charlo, that's also a great fight. So why wouldn't you want to see all these fights? Everyone is calling out the same guy, Canelo Alvarez. Everybody wants to see these guys fight, Canelo Alvarez. But does anybody want to see these guys fight amongst each other to weed out who's the best guy and then face Canelo Alvarez? That's where Canelo Alvarez is able to sit back as the king of the division and look at these guys fight amongst each other so that they could be the winner to face Canelo Alvarez. It makes perfect sense. When you're in the driver's seat, you can make those decisions and you can stir the pot so that everyone can face one another. And that the zone is the one that has 2 out of the 3. And if Jermall Charlo is willing to come over and join the zone, he'll be right in the mix and puts him right in position to get the fights that he wants to make. But these guys are going to have to start calling each other out because Canelo Alvarez is playing a game right now. And he's just basically avoiding these guys. Not because he's scared, because he's trying to make the division much better. And you could say right now that I'm talking bullshit. But just think about this. If these guys all fight each other, doesn't it make the division a lot more interesting than just sitting around and watching these guys face the Suleckis, the Brian Adams, and the Steve Rose? These guys need to start calling each other out, needs to start forcing the issue with their teams to fight one another, because Canelo Alvarez is going to fight the Callum Smiths, is going to go after the Sergey Kovalevs, is going to go after the Jaime Munguia, who's not even ready for Canelo Alvarez, and beat these guys and keep prolonging the major fights that we want to see just for these guys to face each other and make these guys a lot more interesting and even make it more of a bigger money fight, a more attractive fight, and get boxing fans talking if Demetrius Andrade is able to beat a guy like Gennadiy Golovkin or even Jermall Charlo, or vice versa. If Charlo could beat Demetrius Andrade, then this is going to make them even more of a bigger star in boxing and put their profile up to where Canelo Alvarez is going to say, all right, let's fight now. Triple G is going to be 37 years old. And this man has to face these young lions like Charlo and Demetrius Andrade and prove himself that he is still a top elite fighter to get a Canelo Alvarez fight. Canelo Alvarez knows that he makes the most money with Triple G. And he's had 2 very close fights with Gennadiy Golovkin. But this is a fight where he is trying to make it interesting, where boxing fans are going to want to see this fight for a 3rd time. And the only way to do so is by not going into a straightaway fight, which I would love to see a straightaway fight because I'm a Triple G fan. But I understand the business side of this right here. And Triple G fighting one of these 2 young lions is going to really put him right back at the level where he needs to be, where boxing fans are going to say, he beat these young guys. And now Canelo has to fight him, and this is going to make it even more interesting. Let's stop talking the nonsense as boxing fans, saying that these guys are being avoided because they're scared, and start supporting these fights and really coming on board to say these other fighters need to fight each other, because there are other big names in the division that all are calling out Canelo Alvarez, but they should be calling out each other and making these fights happen, because it makes the middleweight division a lot more interesting, just like the welterweight division. There's a lot of guys in the welterweight division that are fighting each other, and that's great for boxing, but there's one piece that is missing in that puzzle, and that's Terrence Crawford. But hopefully that could all get worked out down the road, and at the end of the day, we'll get to see the super fight that we all want with Terrence Crawford involved, and hopefully we'll be able to see who's the last man standing in the middleweight division, because these guys have all fought each other, and Canelo Alvarez is the giant prize to see who is the true king at 160 pounds. But that's my take on all these fights that should be happening. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into this video right here, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. Please subscribe to the channel, put your email information in, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the bell icon, subscribe to the YouTube channel, make comments. Also follow me on all social media platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, and join the Facebook boxing group page, all under the same name, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. I'm J. Calderon, Stand Clean Entertainment. Thanks for your support. Keep watching, and please subscribe.